there we go. Thank you. Right, so welcome this evening. This is our introduction to Mothers Can for those of you who haven't been to any of our sessions before, done any training with us or connected with us in any way. So this is a bit of a rundown of Mothers Can for you. So Mothers Can exists because we believe that mothers hold power, especially when we work together. We build confidence and leadership skills with the mothers in our network, and we enable and empower them to take local collective action. And we help them to identify that by finding an area where they can make the most impact. We hold space for mothers across the UK to connect, share and learn together. We facilitate the network so that we can nurture those relationships and provide peer support and develop skills-based training. So with that in mind, how can you get involved with Mothers Can if you're not already? So we have our wider network, which consists of our social media. So you can connect with us via social media. So we always love some engagement and connection and building our community in that space. We also have our quarterly newsletter, which you can sign up to. And within that newsletter, we provide information about what's happening in our network, what all our brilliant mums in our collective are doing and taking action locally. Also news from our partners and also upcoming events such as these speaker events and our training. We also offer our speaker sessions like we have this evening, which is a fantastic way to engage with new people. Again, it's lovely to see so many new faces here tonight. And we run 2 of those a year, and we pick those speakers because we identify areas which are relevant to the mums in our network and often cover issues which we find are most relevant to them. We have our collective. So going from the wider network to the collective, these are mums that have taken action with us. So it might be that they've done a training with us. So we have our anxiety to action training. That is for anyone who is interested and wanting to do a bit more. It's all focused on collective action. So understanding what collective action is and how you can do that in your local area, and about finding your place to be able to take action. Those people that have been part of our training, we also offer bi-monthly training with those people so that we can continue the training that we've already started on the course. And again, we pick speakers to come along and provide training which are relevant to them. For example, we had a session all about climate action plans in schools recently, and that was a really great session for those people that they got loads from, which they can then take on to take action. We also offer our sharing and connection sessions as well, so that you know that you're not doing it alone. And so that we can share what we've been doing, how we've been taking action, share any challenges that we might have, and also celebrate together the action that's been taken, regardless of whether it's big or small. We also have our group leader support. So anyone that may want to take action locally, it might be that they want to start their own local group. So we offer one-to-one support for those people to help and support them to do that. And again, so that you're not alone in running that. We also offer those people guided meets. So when you bring people together, we can provide those meets so that, again, it can harness that connection within your group and also help you to identify an issue that you might want to work towards locally. So for any of those things I've just discussed, you can get in touch via our email address. And what we can do is do a bit of an introduction again with you about Mothers Can, go into a bit more about what we do, and also help you find the best way for you to get involved. So Mothers Can is created for mothers by mothers, and we're a volunteer-run organisation. We use participatory decision making, which is really, really important to us, which means that everyone within our collective especially help us make decisions. So we operate a steering group so that they help us keep our process democratic and relevant to those in our network, and they also help us decide what activities we should be doing and how we should be applying budget and things like that. So again, really, really crucial to the running of Mothers Can. Again, in terms of decision making, we always look to our wider network as well to help us make those decisions, again, in terms of making it as democratic as possible and relevant to our network. So anyone can get in touch. As I've said, please do contact us. We'd love to hear from you. Drop us an email. Find out more about our Anxiety to Action course and sign up and find out more, or you can join our mailing list and just keep up to date with us in terms of what we are up to. So that is our introduction to Mothers Can. That is all about us. And now I'm going to hand you over to Helen, and she's going to tell us all a bit more about Great Big Green Week.
Thanks, Lindsay, and hi everyone. I'm really thrilled to be here with you all this evening. I'm Helen. I'm from the Climate Coalition. I'm also part of the Mothers Climate Action Network, and I'm here to share with you a bit tonight about how you can get involved with Great Big Green Week. Great Big Green Week is the UK's biggest celebration of action for climate and nature. And it feels really timely to be joining you this evening and to speak to you ahead of Jo, whose work connects so deeply with the themes that run throughout Great Big Green Week, which are around care, collective action, love of place, connection and resilience. So Great Big Green Week matters because climate action isn't just about carbon, it's about community, it's about coming together with others, it's about well-being, and it's about the world that we pass on to future generations. Great Big Green Week shows us that we're not alone. There are millions of people taking action, and Great Big Green Week makes that really visible to others. And indeed, this year, there are events happening up and down the country, and we believe that we're going to reach over 1 million people through those events over the next week. Because when we come together, we are powerful, and we create hope, momentum, and we can change systems for the better. So it is Great Big Green Week right now. This event is one of many events that are happening across the UK and online as part of Great Big Green Week. So it started on Saturday and it runs till next Sunday. It has a theme, Swap Together for Good, which celebrates all of those meaningful swaps that we can make for the planet and for each other. We've done some polling ahead of Great Big Green Week, and what that has shown us is that climate action isn't something that is for activists. It is popular, it is mainstream, and it is common sense. It's happening in our communities, it's happening right now, and it's joyful and a great way to connect with others. So there are lots of different ways that you can get involved. You can join an event. You're all here this evening. You are part of Great Big Green Week. There are many other events happening, and brilliant ones for those of you with children. There's loads of stuff to take children to, children of all ages. So if you go to greatbiggreenweek.com, I'll pop a link in the chat, and shortly you'll find something near you, whether it's a clothes swap, a repair cafe, a family fun day, nature walks, there'll be something for you. Another thing that you can do is to share on social media. So if there's a swap that you're making as part of Great Big Green Week, use the hashtag Great Big Green Week to share the action you're taking in a way that inspires others. And then finally, we are currently asking folk to share a picture of a person, a place or a space that they love, something that calls you to action, that calls you to stand up for people, climate and nature. And we're compiling all of those images and working with an artist to make a giant collaborative artwork that's going to be unveiled later this summer to coincide with a Math Lobby event that we're holding in Westminster. So again, I'll pop the link into the chat and would love you to share one of images of something or someone that means something to you to form part of that artwork. Just finally, before I pass back to the team and we start to hear from Jo, it's really important that we hear your feedback about Great Big Green Week, about the sort of events that you're going to, how they are for you, what more you'd like to see. So again, we're just going to pop a link in the chat with a link to our survey, and would be hugely grateful if you could fill that in before you log off this evening. So thanks for having me. I'm really excited to hear from Jo, and and happy Great Big Green Week.
Thanks, Helen. That's brilliant. Really good to hear about Great Big Green Week. And as many of you know, tonight is in partnership with Great Big Green Week. So we're delighted to team up for this evening's event. So get the great opportunity, well, a great job of introducing Jo McAndrews. Jo actually was recommended to us by somebody in our network who wanted to hear from her. So we thought it was a great recommendation and reached out, and we were delighted when she said yes. Because Jo trained as a psychotherapist, and she now works in one-to-one and in groups with parents and with children. And she works as a coach and a trainer. She's also a climate psychologist. And through many years of experience, she has honed a particular approach and a particular theory about well-being and about resilience in the face of crisis. And that's what we're going to hear about tonight. So just a couple of housekeeping bits and pieces. We would love to hear your questions. There will be a chance, there'll be Q&A at the end of the session. So there'll be about 10, 15 minutes to ask questions. So then we can ask you to come off mute and share your question. But if in the meantime you can't hold on to that question, just pop them in the chat. And then when we get to the end of Jo speaking, then we will, I can ask her those questions. But yes, if you could stay on mute while Jo is speaking, that would be brilliant. And yeah. Without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Jo.
Thank you very much. Oh, there I am, big on the screen. Thanks a lot, Sophie, for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here, and already just feeling very buoyed up by all the work and connection that you're sharing and I'm hearing about. So happy Great Big Green Week to everyone, and thank you everyone who's here. Thank you for your work and for your time. So I'm going to talk to you about resilience and well-being. I want to talk to you about how it's not a luxury and how it is, I believe, radical activism. And I just want to acknowledge from the beginning that because there's so much to say about this, and so I'm just sort of acknowledging my own frustration at not being able to say everything there is to say. But what I'm hoping is that we might not go away with all the answers, but we'll go away with some more interesting questions and hopefully some encouragement and inspiration to take this further. So I'm going to share my screens because I've put all the sort of points I want to make in a PowerPoint that helps me make sure I cover the things I want to cover. So I want to share with you the core ideas that that this is based on. Because I want to talk about I'm not going to just go and tell you to go and do yoga and do breathing and mindfulness, although those are all great things. I want to sort of step back a bit and look at some of the systems we're operating in and some of the bigger picture. So we live in cultures of uncare. What I mean by that is the systems and culture that we live in that prioritizes business, money, fossil fuels, individualism over human happiness and well-being and a livable future is a deeply uncaring culture. And I will say more about what I mean by that. So I'm looking at things from a cultural perspective, also recognizing that this is a long emergency we're in. It's not like, okay, we've got the weekend to sort everything out, so just put everything in and then we'll recover afterwards. We need resilience because we want sustainable action for ourselves and for our children. Our children need resilience to face a challenging future. And I think it's not controversial to talk about a challenging future, because even if we're wildly optimistic about turning everything around, it would still require unimaginable change for us to do that. So we know that their future is going to be very different, and recognizing that around the world, children's futures are already massively compromised by climate crisis and global social crisis, everything that brings with it. So our current ways of thinking are part of the problem. Well, that's clear. Our ways of thinking about economy or business or politics, we know that. But I want to suggest that our current ways of thinking about care and about resilience are also part of the problem. And our current ways of thinking about children are part of the problem. And that's what I want to address today. So I think that we need to reshape our thinking and our action on care. And that because of this, growing a culture of care within our organisations, within our families and ourselves is a form of radical activism, because we're looking at system change and going against a culture that we've been shaped by. So I'm going to talk about I've broken what I want to say into three sections. What do I mean by care? What are our basic human needs for care? Why is it so hard to care for ourselves and each other? Like, what are the things that are against us? That could be a very long section. And lastly, the bit that we're really interested in is, well, what do we need to do then to create a culture of care? That sounds great, Jo, but what do you mean by that? This is for the nerdy geeks amongst us. I want you to know that the ideas I'm sharing with you, I haven't just made up. There's a whole load of different theories that I draw on that I've studied over years. And what I'm finding is the more I read, the more it all goes in the same direction. It comes to from different directions. The wisdom is becoming more and more consistent. I have made a Padlet of resources that I'm going to share with you at the end, so don't worry about clocking all of that. So one of the things I want to make sure I offer you today is some sense of practical application. And one of the types of practice that I'm really influenced by is that of somatics, which is about how our whole body's mind, thinking, emotions, how as whole people we experience the world, and that our resilience is part of that whole body experience. So I want to share with you a simple but profound practice that calls on our sort of earliest evolved biology to help us to settle and find soothing and regulation. So it's called orienting. Peter Levine teaches it, and I learnt it from Resmaa Menakem. Their books are in the resources list. And if you'd like to join me, I'd like to invite you just to take a moment to notice yourself sitting, notice where you're sitting, notice where you are, notice your attention, if you'd like to, in your body, like maybe give a moment to noticing where your bum's sitting, what's supporting your back. And then just in your own time, have a look round. Have a look round your room, and in that you'll notice as you look round that there's a slight twist in your spine, a slight twist in your neck and your hips. If that's comfortable for you, please stay within the capacity of your body. And just have a look round the room you're in. And you might particularly notice, where are the windows, the doors? Where is the light coming from? Where would you get out if you needed to get out in a hurry? What is it as you look around that tells you that you're safe? What is it that's familiar to you? That is just that very simple thing. It's like we evolved as animals over hundreds of thousands, millions of years, and the act of just knowing where we are is a huge our nervous system is primed for it, constantly asking the question. So when we move those muscles, we're activating a nerve called the vagus nerve, which is constantly looking out for our well-being and wanting to soothe and protect us. There's more we can say about that, but I want to carry on. So I want to talk about our human basic needs for care. I've got a picture here of a chimp and her baby because we're not, we have pretty much the same needs as chimps and their babies. When my daughter was tiny and she used to do bewildering things that I as a new mother, I thought, I just don't know what to do. I would sometimes ask myself, well, what would a monkey do? Because I knew that the answer to that would get me pretty close to what she needed. You'd think that she might have eaten a lot of bananas, but it was more about, I knew that what she needed most was to be safe and held. So we grow and function at a level which is hard. It's so hard to even imagine the extent to which this is true, that we grow and function in relationship with the natural world and with each other. So our whole biology, our nervous system, our eyesight, our hearing, our breathing, our lungs, the muscles in our legs, our joints, everything about us has evolved to expect to adapt to the environment we find ourselves in and the people who are around us. And some of these really strong needs, these most profound needs, Stacey Haynes has described as our needs for safety, belonging, and dignity. And I find those a beautiful trio to guide me. How is my safety, my belonging, and my dignity? And Stacey describes trauma as the betrayal of those needs. Another way of looking at this is that what we need from each other is the experience of being seen, being heard, and being understood. Like, I'm not mad, somebody gets me. I'm not on my own with this. I'm witnessed and validated. As I'm saying it, I'm noticing how easy that is to say because it sounds so simple. And what's complex is what gets in the way of that. Because if we could design everything so that those were the core things, we would design systems and policies that really worked for humans and for the earth. So just to add something there, a little bit more detail about our neurobiology of the way that we work in relation to each other and to the earth is through connection and attunement. Our brains form connections. You'll have heard a lot about the wiring of nervous system webs. So we make these amazing interrelated webs of neural networks that grow through our relationships. So in our first few years, we are growing those massively through our relationship with our parents. And then throughout our lives, we carry on adapting and making new connections through our relationships with others. And the way that we do that with each other is we tune into each other. We are always looking out for, how are the people around me? Am I safe? Do I matter to them? Do I belong? And we can tell that not just by facial expressions and voice tones, which are very strong indicators, but also we can feel in our body when we're around people who care about us. And we can very much feel in our body when we're not around people who care about us. So we all need connection with warm, responsive other people for our brains to develop and to function healthily throughout life. Just to say that the optimum, evolved experience for a baby is to be born into a wide community of one really strong attachment figure who will do anything to keep us alive, and that person surrounded by others who are looking after them, usually her, but are looking after her and making her needs known. Meeting her needs. So why is it so hard then to get that experience? Well, one reason is we didn't have our needs met as children or since. And I'm not being rude about any of our parents. What I'm talking about is a cultural experience that in our cultures, which Bell Hooks described as white supremacist, capitalist patriarchy, these big systems of power and domination, they have overridden and broken our relationships and connections with nature and each other. And that has affected us in every possible way and has led to the climate crisis that we're facing now, where it's even separating us from the very things we need to live. So our dominant culture with those power systems devalues nature, children, parents, relationships, and well-being and health. So this is the context that we're looking at this in, is that, and as mothers, everyone here is mothers, that you haven't got nearly enough support. Like, we don't have nearly enough support, and yet we're constantly blamed for every difficult thing our child experiences, constantly told that it's our responsibility. Because, attachment theory, which I'm also backing up with this neurobiology, says that, children's health and happiness depends on their relationship with their parents. But what that misses is it depends on their parents within the culture that they're in. So it actually depends on how supported those parents are, how supported they are by other people, not just friends and not just family, but by the whole system, the whole economic system, the whole architectural system, the town planning system. If we didn't have cars speeding down everywhere that our children go, we wouldn't spend our whole time worried about them being hit and being on edge with that. That's just a tiny example. The other thing that's really insidious is that we've been conditioned by our culture to reject our own needs for care. So we've been brought up to see well-being as a luxury, something that only the rich can afford because you have to pay for it, because it's all about candles and hot baths and spa days and holidays. Or we see it as flaky or self-indulgent or weird. I often teach people sort of body-based practices. Even, for example, a really good one is just to shake out your body. And I'm regularly trying to teach that to people. And pretty much all of us feel just really weird moving in front of each other. That's the extent to which we have been robbed of our basic ability to regulate our own stress and care for each other. So that is that's it's so clever, but it's led towards a real harshness towards ourselves and towards others and towards our children, and it's led to a separation from between us and our resilient birthright. What I mean by that is we've evolved to have so many ways of staying healthy and well, and a lot of them depend on care from each other and care for ourselves and care for the natural environment around us. Another thing that makes this so difficult is for those of us who are engaged with climate change and wanting to act and be involved in doing something about it, is this sense of urgency, right? Like this is now, this is urgent. We have to do everything. We have to give every minute of our possible time. Now, for our nervous systems, a state of emergency is a really good survival tool, but it's utterly unsustainable for any length of time. So living in a state and a culture of urgency is not going to be something we can perpetuate. And it's what it also means is that urgency leaves people behind, the ones that can't keep up, the ones it also leaves behind process. So what can happen is we've got a meeting, we've got 10 things on the agenda, somebody has a problem with number 3, we haven't got time for that because we've got to get on. And so that really challenges movements and means that only the most the people who are most active and fast get on with the things, and we leave care behind because we just don't have time. We don't have time. If I've got a spare hour, I'm going to be getting on with that campaign, not sitting around talking about my feelings or lying down or having a nice time. So that time issue means that we end up not prioritizing relationship or well-being or rest, which is just like the productivity grind capitalist culture that has caused this mess. Urgency is one of the things, there's an article about white supremacy culture that names urgency as one of the aspects of whiteness that keeps marginalized people out of the way. So those are all the difficult things. I'm imagining, I can't see all your faces, but I'm imagining you're recognizing some of them. And we could talk about them a lot more, but let's move on to thinking, well, what are we going to do about this then? I just want to show you this model because I love it so much. It's Bob Doppelt has written this great book called Transformative Resilience. And the thing I want to show you is he says there are 3 necessary and interrelated elements of a response, an effective response to climate change. So 2 of them get said everywhere: reducing emissions from fossil fuels, yes, preparing and adapting physical infrastructure, natural resources, yes. Why I love him is because he says the 3rd one, which is not third in priority, they're equally important, is building the capacity of individuals and groups to cope with trauma, to learn, grow, and thrive. So care, our ability to understand and meet the challenges of trauma, to learn, grow, and thrive, is an essential part of climate action. And that's the bit that we're talking about now. Let's do another brief practice. I'm just going to check. Sophie, I'm aware of the time table we've got, but I also started a few minutes late. Is that okay if I...
5 minutes, yeah, no
Okay.
problem.
So let's just do this very briefly because I've just said a huge amount of stuff quite fast because that's my way of trying to fit it all in. So I've got this beautiful picture of a tree here. So grounding is very simply about deliberately noticing that we are on the earth, and it's giving our attention to the weight of ourselves on the earth. If you're interested, I'd want to invite you to notice your feet, or it might be if you're sitting on a bed or something, might be your legs or your bum or your back. Whatever part of you is connected to something which is connected to the earth. Just grounding can be as simple as just giving your attention there. Just noticing you are embodied, you are held by gravity. You're not going to fall off anything. You're not going to go flying off this planet. Gravity isn't under threat as far as I know, even from the most catastrophic predictions. So feeling yourself heavy, and just want to invite you to see if you can let just 10% more of your body weight sink and be held by the earth underneath you. I like to amplify this by imagining that I've got roots going down from my feet. I imagine myself like a tree, having roots that go deep down, that suck up water and nutrients, and that give me the solidity and plantedness and strength of a tree. However that reaches you, there isn't one way to do it. Some people love visualizing, some people don't. The heart of it is just in the same way that we have an earth wire when we plug a plug into the electricity, something that takes our attention, our energy down to the ground. Many ways of doing this. So what do we need? We need practices of collective care. We need practices of individual care. I've put that in inverted commas because there is no such thing as an individual. But what I mean is, like, I imagine like myself as like my part of the garden, my part of the ecosystem that I have influence over. So how can I look after myself in order to take care of all of us, in order to show up helpfully and resiliently? And we also need practices of parenting for resilience. Collective care practices, just to give you some examples, are about attending to a culture within our movements, any organisations that we have influence in. And some examples, and this isn't the whole picture, but including appreciation and validation, decolonising power and resources, by which I mean having a look at how do our power structures mimic the dominant culture of power over, and how can we do that differently so we're already clear and not buying into or joining into the usual ways of working that marginalise so many of us. The example you gave earlier, Lindsay, of your participatory decision-making process is a really good example of that. Doing decision-making differently, being transparent, encouraging and listening to people as they contribute. Being trauma-informed and using practices that promote consent, choice, autonomy. Knowing that work takes time, so rejecting urgency culture and emergency culture, which is a hard thing for us when we know we're up against it. Including care as work that needs doing, not saying, well, we've got our work to do and then we've got to think about care afterwards. Including care as that work, including funding. Care needs funding as well. And shared practices like check-ins, listening partnerships and groups, body-based practices that we can do together. Then individual care practices. How do I care for my part of the ecosystem? So the usual boring stuff like sleep, food, water, movement, rest. It's true. All of those things help to keep us well. And so easily for mothers how do we find time for those things? And if we're mothers and activists, it feels like those are the least important things. And yet, if we sacrifice those things, we're not going to be able to keep going and contribute well to our collective. Supportive relationships as a priority, learning more about this stuff, about care, and repeated embodied practices of care and settling, like the grounding, like orienting. There's so many more. Now that we know so much through neurobiology about how the nervous system works, there's so many practices that people are sharing. And I've put here the line from that beautiful Mary Oliver poem, let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. So basically remembering that we are primitive animals. We have really basic needs for safety and care, and noticing and giving attention to what those are. And what I mean by parenting for resilience, I mean, becoming part of a network of parents who feel supported and held by other adults, prioritizing connection and warmth above all else. Parents standing up for their children in this harsh culture. No punishment, rewards, threat, or shaming. And robust engagement and guidance with respect for and trust of the child. I'm so aware that I've just read you a really like massive list of things, and we'll find time to talk about it another time. But I just want to tell you that I have a website that you're welcome to come and have a look at. I've got an ebook on there called Truth Without Trauma, which is about talking with children about climate crisis. I have a talk which I'm going to give again, I hope soon, but there's a recording on my website on parenting for resilience, which goes into this in more depth. And I'm so thrilled with myself that I've published this online course called The Magic of Warm Listening, which is because I think that's the heart of resilient parenting. And as Sophie said, I do offer one-to-one support as well. And in a moment, I will put that Padlet of resources in the chat. So that's that for now. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can see you again.
Thanks.
And thanks very much for listening to that.
Thank you so much. God, there was so much in there. This is your opportunity, everyone in the audience now. If you have questions that you want to ask, feel free to put your Zoom hand up, or actually, I'm not sure you can put your actual hand up because I might not see you. Or put your question in the chat if you have a question that you want to ask Jo, but you don't want to actually ask it. I would love you, Jo, while we're waiting for questions to come in, I'd love you. Can you just talk about warm listening? What is it? Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry, I just realised I'm just going to try and switch a light on because I realise I'm getting more and more foggy here. What's warm listening? It's yeah, it's the heart of not just parenting, but how we connect with each other. It is about how do we show somebody that we've seen and heard them, that we care about them and we get them. So instead of fixing or dismissing or solving or distracting, we just say we're basically reflecting back what we've heard and understood. So if my child says to me, I'm really stressed about going to college tomorrow, instead of saying, well, don't worry, it'll be over again, or you're nearly at the end of term, or well, go to bed early and no, I'll say, yeah, I hear how stressed you are. Yeah, do you want to tell me anything more about it? Warm listening is curious and responsive and on their side, and just wanting to, so do I understand you? What is it? What would you like to tell me? And I'm wondering if I can get away with that as an answer without going on and on with more things. Is there anything, have I answered you enough for now?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty thorough answer. I also, obviously you talked a lot about, care, and you've got many, many, many years of experience in this. And one of the things you said was learn about care, and like, what are your recommendations for that? Because I mean, the thing is, you are talking about a system that has taught us not to care, that taught us that care is a waste of time, basically, that it's indulgent, and now to move away from that is hard. Where do you even start?
Well, I tell you where to start because it's the best place to start, I think, is the work of Darsha Narvez. That's Darcia. Perhaps somebody could type it. Darcia. Narvez is Narvaez. And she's done this whole body of work that she calls the Evolved Nest. She's made some beautiful videos about it, and she's written a book called The Evolved Nest. And it's all about our evolved needs for care. And she's done various other work. She's prolific with her sharing of her ideas. I would start there, and then there's lots of places to go on to. I'd also recommend politicized somatics, particularly the work of Stacey Haynes, Stacihaines. I can type these in a minute when there's a break. Because she really, really, really talks about very practical ways of looking for understanding trauma and looking for embodied healing for the sake of the world, not just for ourselves. Those are some suggestions. And also Dan Siegel, his parenting books are fantastic. He's done a series of books with Tina Payne Bryson that are based on sort of neuroscience research. and very, very practical. For example, one of them is called No Drama Discipline, and it's talking about, well, if we're not going to do punishment, what are we going to do instead? And it's got cartoons and everything. So I'd start in those places.
Thanks, Jo. I was just thinking as you were talking earlier, I was thinking because my children are now 15 and 12. Thinking, God, am I too late? Am I too late to sort of adopt these different practices?
Never, never, never too late. But by the time they're that age, you are going to have to explain to them why you're being such a weirdo. If you no, it's absolutely never too late, even if your children are adults. But it's hard to change our practices and take on new ones. And my recommendation is, when we're doing that with older children, is to say, okay, look, I'm trying something new, and I know it's going to sound strange for a bit, but what I'm really wanting is to show up more for you, or to listen more to you. So perhaps you could help me and tell me what it's like. So no, absolutely not too late.
That's very, very practical advice. I'm surprised there's no question. Why I will keep asking questions, but
Sophie, sorry, Fiona Diggles put a question. I don't know
Oh.
if she wants to ask it or whether she wants us to ask it for her.
Fiona, why don't you ask? Fiona, you come off mute.
If she's able.
I've just put a different spelling of Darshanavez in the chat. So
Okay, I'm going to say what Fiona says. How do you parent for resilience in an uncaring world? Are there any key steps?
yes. Well, I think the first step is recognizing that you are parenting against the culture. So you're going to have to start questioning a lot of things, but it's totally worth it, because you already know that the culture's not working as it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be turning up to Mothers Can. So one thing is getting the strength of knowledge and a new framework of understanding, so to back us up. And then the other one is you put your child's needs for safety and relationship first before everything else, and let that guide you. That's the simplest. I mean, it has lots of complexity about how what it means, and I can give examples if we have time, but putting your child and their safety and their sense of that they matter, their safety, belonging, and dignity, you just put those first and parent with that as your guiding light. I mean, that's not enough to say, but I wonder if it's a good start.
Can ask for the starting step, so that's definitely a starting step. Catherine, I can see your hands up.
Sorry, actually, Sophie, Catherine, sorry to interrupt. Just to add one thing, just recognizing the support that we need for that. I don't want to put another burden on us all. You know, parents are already really overworked. So another part of that parenting for resilience is prioritizing our own needs for safety and mattering, and for safety, belonging, and dignity. And so choosing our friends carefully, stop listening to our mother-in-law's advice, or, letting people judge us, and starting to trust in our children more than we trust in other people's opinions of them. Yeah, thanks, Catherine. Go for it.
Thanks. Hi, that was a great talk. I was really interested in your point about the culture of urgency, and I guess I was curious how we can kind of hold the actual urgency of the climate crisis that we're living through with not kind of living in that urgent way so that it impairs us, I suppose.
Yeah, wow. I mean, that is a fantastic question. That is a very complicated thing. So I think sometimes the urgency comes from this feeling about we have to save it now because next week it'll be too late. And that is a tyrannous deadline to live under. And the more I'm in it, the more I recognize it not to be true. This won't be over by next week or next year or by 2030. And it also, urgency is part of the culture that has created this mess. It has the sort of urgency and focus on action over relationships has disabled us from being effective. So actually, a different approach is that we need to prioritize as a matter of urgency, but not emergency. We need to prioritize sustainable connections of people who we can work with. And because we have grown up in a culture where we haven't learnt those ways, we need to be learning them now. And those of us who are engaged with this work now have got a head start over all the others who haven't realised yet. So I suppose it's just we're in a predicament. We're in a predicament. And if we get caught up with the ongoing emergency, we are going to be ineffective, and we're going to that anxiety and urgency is going to communicate itself to our children, who will then not be best served in what they need next, which is a sense of whole nervous system capacity. So I suppose it's about, I think it's about reframing our idea of what's actually going on and what's needed in the face of it, away from the messages of self-sacrifice and martyrdom and hero. You know, we've got to throw everything at it right now, because what we're throwing at it isn't resourced and it's not going to work from that place. So no, what do you think, Catherine?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Just got a couple more questions in the chat, or might have two or three actually. So from Susie, thank you so much. So helpful. She's got a nearly 4-year-old and wondering where to start. She asks so many questions. I want to be honest, but I also want to, but I love how blissful her ignorance is. Would appreciate any tips to help build that resilience as she learns about the world. Should I just tell you that actually we've got
I can see the other question from Sam.
Yeah, and then there's another one here which is from Jess. Everything resonates, especially the societal connections, part of a mum.
Oh yeah. Choosing rest.
Yeah, choosing rest. Okay. And again, I think we've got a similar one, which is my 5-year-old has just started asking questions about why people do things that hurt animals or the planet, and so it's a similar kind of how do you balance the kind of the one for the innocence and the sort of, you know, that beautiful world that you're bringing them into versus actually what the reality of is what's happening.
Yes, this is, I mean, these questions are the heart of it, aren't they? So thanks, Lindsay, and thanks, Sam. Okay, so to start with, I don't think it's helpful to tell children that young, or a fair bit older actually, that we're in a climate emergency, or that we're in a global life emergency. The way we live, and with little ones like this, I would say answering questions like, oh, Lindsay, can you give me an example of a question?
Sorry, I was passing that message on for Susie.
Oh yeah, sorry, you did say that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
Susie,
yeah.
Give an example.
Actually, no, we've got a question. Why do people do things that hurt animals or the planet?
Yeah.
So Sam's already given us a question. Let's think about that. So what would I want to say? Firstly, we don't have to directly answer the question with a factual answer. We can start off with empathizing with the question. Like, I know it's really painful to see that, isn't it? It's horrible to think about people hurting animals when we love them so much. And it can be really difficult to understand. I'm not surprised you asked. That's a very big question. Sometimes I wish I could understand that better myself. And then I might say something like, you know, I know that sometimes people are hurt in themselves and they don't realize how precious other life is. And so they take out their hurt on others. Or I wouldn't keep it as an individual thing. I'd also say sometimes you know, people think that money is most important, and we know that it's not. And it's this is an important time where we need people who are going to protect and stick up for the animals. this question about why people do things that hurt animals or the planet is so massive that in my great wisdom and age, and I think I can imagine I'm not the only one, I don't know either, or I do, but it's taken me decades to get there. So we have to take questions at sort of the I think the wrong thing with children is to either just say too much because people are bastards and there are just really nasty people about, but we're lovely, aren't we? No, we don't want that. It's really empathizing with I know life is really complicated, there is a lot of hurt about, and my feeling is that the more we love each other, the more we love animals and protect them, the more that our planet is going to be helped, or the more that we'll be doing good, helpful things. Or I think it's not appropriate to start telling children about global crises because they don't understand global anything at that age. So I would say the focus where to start is about earth protection, tending to the life in your garden, in your park, in your community, and including people. So very early understanding of marginalised people's experience. So sticking up for people, understanding anti-racism at very young age, prioritising friendships and knowing that people are complicated. Oh, a well-meaning book by Rod Campbell. What's that? Yes, that's the trouble. There are so many well-meaning books that actually are really problematic. So we don't need to be pretending. Oh, so the other thing I wanted to say is attend to children's experience and feelings before the need to give them big answers about life. So empathizing with what it's like to hold that question. And yes, I know it's really confusing, isn't it? Because it seems really obvious, doesn't it, that we need to protect the animals. And it's very confusing to see that that's not what everybody does. I know it's really, yeah, I can understand that you're anxious at bedtime. When it gets dark, lots of animals feel very scared. And we're like that as well. We need extra cuddles and we need reassurance. So another place to start is to really pay attention to your child's inner experience, their questions and their often when children ask a question, they don't so much want the answer as they want to know that their question is valid. They want you to join in with their curiosity and welcome their perspective.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jo. That's been brilliant. Really, really insightful, really thought-provoking. What we're just going to do now is I'm just going to get everyone I'm just going to do a little bit of a minute of silence so that and I'm actually going to time it. So everyone can just have a little think. Sometimes these talks happen and you don't get a chance to kind of reflect on it. So just going to take a minute. And then then there'll be a little section afterwards about the Anxiety to Action course and a little bit more about Mothers Can. And then we're going to go into breakout rooms just for a short amount of time to reflect on what Jo's just said. So just a little, you can turn your camera off if you want, but just going to take a minute and I'll come back to you, putting your timer on, I'll come back to you in a second. That's a minute. It always surprised me how long actually a minute is. So if you can, turn your cameras back on and come back into the room. What would be fantastic is if you could just put into the chat like something, a little reflection about Jo's talk. What was your kind of key takeaway from, what are you taking out of it at this point? Just anything that you can think of, just the first thing you think of, just put it, if you could put it into the chat. It's a really good sort of way of reflecting, but also just a way for us reflecting about and getting to capture like what people felt from the talk. And then in the meantime, I'm going to invite Ruthie, who did our recent cohort of the Anxiety Action course, just to come and have a little chat about it. So Mothers Can is all about a supportive connection. It is about when Jo was talking, I was really reflecting on how supportive it's been for me, and hopefully everyone who comes through the course, which will just come through us to do anything. We really focus on sharing and connection, yes, and it's nice for me to bring somebody in who's actually done the course. So I'm just going to find where Ruthie is so I can put her onto. Actually, Lindsay, could you put Ruthie onto Spotlight, please? That's because I'm not sure I can. I'm not sure I can spotlight. Here we go. Hey Ruthie, how you doing?
Hey, good, thanks, Sophie.
It would be, so just so everyone knows, Lindsay did talk about it. She said that we do we do a course called Anxiety to Action. It's 6 weeks, it's fully funded. It's 2 hours a week for over the period of time. We're running the next one starting on the 23rd of September. And really it's for anybody who wants to do more, who's looking to make more impact. But also really wants in a supportive environment to start taking action and take it within a cohort of other people. And Ruthie, we've just run our 4th cohort of the course, and Ruthie was one of the people on the course. Ruthie, we'd love to hear from you about what brought you to the course.
Yeah, thank you. So I signed up quite late, actually. I think it was about a week before the course was due to start. And I literally had no knowledge of Mothers Can at all. I think I found the course on Facebook. It just kind of popped up, and the timings worked. The synergy of the values and everything the course seemed to represent to me really kind of sung to me. So I just kind of signed up and did the course. But yeah, that's really how I found you, really, and found the course, was just kind of following a little gut instinct, really. So,
And
yeah.
great. And also then, so what did you get from the course? How did it make you feel?
Wow. Well, I didn't really know what to expect initially. I was curious, really curious. But I was so nourished, and I felt so supported. And actually it's really, really lovely being back in this space. Just the talk there was just so fantastic. And actually it's a really good, I think it's a good insight into what to expect from the course as well. So I loved learning from mothers from all over the UK. And it really kind of gives you an amazing insight into the different forms that action can take. The multiple kind of paths to action. I think that was my massive kind of takeaway from the course. Just really, really inspiring, and just having that sense of community and mutual support as well. Yeah, really, really good. Really, really good.
Brilliant. And I mean, do you think you're doing anything differently since?
After the course? Yeah, well, we were talking about this earlier, weren't we? So in terms of doing things differently, I was already doing quite a lot. So as you know, I work as a poet, so I do a lot of work in community settings, inspiring connection to nature and encouraging families to do the same and that kind of thing. But I think what the course really helped me do was realise primarily I was already doing quite a lot, actually, and that was okay. Sometimes what you're doing is actually enough. And just to kind of really give yourself the tools that you need to care for yourself as well. I found that really, really encouraging, really, yeah, really, really helpful. But one of the light bulb moments for me was something that you said about when you are already doing something, in terms of any kind of action, any kind of climate action, just share that as much as possible. And yeah, the course really just kind of helped me feel okay about doing that. So since the course, I've given three, I think it's, yeah, three media interviews. Two of them have been national, no, three, yeah, all three have been national media interviews, with a kind of climate justice angle as well. And the course definitely helped me feel emboldened to do that. I mean, I was kind of already doing it beforehand anyway, but there was just something about just feeling really, yeah, just really supported in speaking out a lot more, basically. I hope that makes sense anyway.
Definitely. Brilliant. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Ruby. And you know, if you do have questions about the course, just get in touch with us. Just go to website, our email address on there, it's hello@motherscan.com. And yeah, we are starting the next course in September. And as I say, we have other training sessions. Just, you know, if you're not quite sure how to engage with us, just get in touch. We'd love to have a chat. So we've got about 10, just under 10 minutes left. So what we're going to do is, Mary, have you set up breakout rooms? Could you set up breakout rooms for the people who are here? Just we're just going to pop into breakout rooms just quickly. It will just be for a quick chat around the subject of care and kind of what you feel you need in terms of care, and also what care can you offer to others. So it's a good opportunity to just like download from the talk, but it'll be just really quick, and then we'll just come back and say goodbye. So I think Mary is going to hopefully open the breakout rooms now.
Lindsay, are we all going into breakout rooms? Shall I join the one that I can't hear you?
Sorry. Still not used to it. Up to you really. If you would like to join, then you're very
Yeah, I'd
welcome.
love to hear what people are saying.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mary, did you assign me one? I didn't get a notification, but I think because I'm the admin for the session, it's not sending it to me. But I think I
tried
can
to put everyone in one, but I can't see you on the list actually.
Yeah, I think it's maybe because I started the meeting.
Oh right, yeah, Sophie's in room 3.
I'll pop into room 2. I can see Helen's in there as well, actually.
Okay, I'll go in room 1 then.
Cool.
Has Lindsay got back?
Hello, back.
Go on then.
Right, yeah, we had a very nice discussion in our group, so I hope everyone else did as well. Before we finish up tonight, a couple of things. So the survey that Helen shared with us, I don't know if it can be shared again, around the Great Big Green Week survey. If you have a few minutes to complete that, that'd be fantastic. We can also share it in their email afterwards when we share the recording as well. And also the Anxiety to Action course, which Sophie was talking to Ruthie about. If you want more details, that's on the website. Again, we can share that. And the dates for the next course is the 23rd of September. So if you're interested, please do get in contact, ask any questions you have, or if you think it sounds what you need, then sign up and we'll get in contact with you with further details. But yeah, I will leave it there, like bang on 9:30. So I will leave it there. Have a lovely evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us and for all your really valuable insights and questions and participation. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.
Thank you for putting it on. Great.
Thanks, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye. Oh.